I just got back from the theaters from the opening day fan event for A Quiet Place Day 1, and I have some things that I want to discuss about this film, so let's get into the movie review. Let's go. A Quiet Place Day 1 is the third installment into the A Quiet Place universe and is a prequel to the first two films, which are A Quiet Place Part 1 and A Quiet Place Part 2. And unlike the first two films, this film was not directed by John Krasinski. In fact, this film was directed by a different director by the name of Michael Sarnoski. Now, A Quiet Place Day 1 stars Lupita Nyong'o as a cancer patient who happens to be in New York City when all of this chaos breaks out. New York City inside this film is ground zero for this alien invasion, which we see happen in Part 1 and Part 2. And because New York is one of the most highly populated cities in America and one of the noisiest cities in America, you can imagine that this makes for a fantastic location set for this film to take place. Now, this film is a brand new cast. We get brand new members for our lead roles here. And when the alien meteors hit, this film becomes extremely entertaining. Now, Lupita Nyong'o's character, she gets knocked out pretty much in the beginning. She wakes up into what is essentially a completely different world, and honestly, it felt like the people in this film of New York City adapted way too quickly to this apocalyptic event, because as soon as Lupita Nyong'o's character awakes, they are already completely aware of how this type of threat works and that they need to be quiet, which felt a bit too quick while I was watching it, but fine. The movie jumps you right into it, so we're right back into the A Quiet Place world now. Not too long into this film, they send a fleet of evacuation boats into New York City so that you can escape from the city, and while all of this is going on, Lupita Nyong'o's character decides that she doesn't want to go to the evacuation boat. She wants to go get a slice of pizza in Harlem, New York City. So it's a bit of a silly plot here, quite honestly. Kind of weak motivation for our character, but I guess it makes sense considering she's a cancer patient. She's going to pass away soon eventually, so she just wants to go have this slice of pizza that reminds her of her past as kind of her final dying wish. Now, you get a dystopian, apocalyptic, future here inside of this film. They do some interesting things with it. Like I said, New York City is a fantastic set and location for this, so you get some great visuals and great shots of this monster, these aliens running all over New York City in giant packs. This is definitely the most out of these monsters that we've ever gotten in any of these films up to this point, and this movie definitely has its moments of greatness, but along the way and in between these moments of greatness, this film has boring moments also. Very dragged out scenes, slow pacing moments, and honestly scenes that as an audience member you just can't fully connect with because they're so unengaging. And quite honestly, this idea for a day one movie we've already gotten to see in A Quiet Place Part 2. If you don't remember, at the start of A Quiet Place Part 2, they give us the entire backstory as to how this went down and how this started, but for their small town specifically. So I guess we're getting the same day happening over again, but in this film it's taking place in New York City, so we can see how it was in a highly populated city. Like I said, great idea, poor execution inside of this film. It doesn't utilize this day one idea enough. The people didn't feel like they had to adapt enough to this new threat. They just already were aware and were able to make this switch and this change. And inside of this film, Lupita Nyong'o's character ends up meeting this lawyer who happens to be walking around New York City, and they sort of partner up inside of this film, and that's kind of what you get for this entire movie, is them being partnered up, them trying to find some pizza, and just kind of fumbling their way through New York. And by the end of this film, it just makes me question, why did we need this movie in the first place? Like I said, we already had a prequel movie with half of Part 2. We didn't need a second prequel movie inside of this universe. And if the idea was executed better, I would have forgave it. But instead, we get this completely pointless side story pretty much. And instead of this film, it just makes me wish that we got A Quiet Place Part 3 with our continuing cast that we established in the first two films. I miss Emily Blunt and John Krasinski's presence on screen, though of course he did pass away at the end of the first movie. And overall, this is a good but not great movie entry into the A Quiet Place universe, which is sad to say considering Part 1 and Part 2 of A Quiet Place are masterclass horror films, cult classic modern horror films. So with that being said, let's go ahead and drop the official rating for A Quiet Place Day 1. I'm going to go ahead and give this film a 7 out of 10. It gets the 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's good but not great. It has its moments of greatness, but along the way you get boring moments also, which bog down the film quite a lot. And by the end, it's kind of a pointless entry into this film universe. So with that being said, those are my thoughts on A Quiet Place Day One. I want to know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Will you be going to see this movie? If you have already seen this movie, did you like or dislike this film? Do you agree or disagree with my opinion on the film? Let me know all that down in the comment section down below. And if you don't know what we do here on Demigod ENT, we do film and TV reactions and reviews. So if you're interested in any of that movie-based content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.